All right, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the Battle of Lexington and Concord. This is not the Lexington and Concord right up the road from us. This is not North Carolina Lexington and Concord. This is Massachusetts Lexington and Concord. That's important for us to know because after the conclusion of this battle, the British are going to reconvene in Boston. And again, if you think this is North Carolina and they're marching to Boston, we actually did the math in class. It takes like 13 hours, I believe, in a car to get to Boston. It takes like 257. I think that's what we came up with in class today. 257 hours to march or to walk from here to Boston. So there's a reason I need you to know this is not in North Carolina. This is in Massachusetts. Okay. So again, as we've been talking, the people in Massachusetts are very what's the right word? Not even like mad or angry. It's more than that, like enraged or fed up. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's hard to. So, there's been a lot of tension in Boston specifically. So, Boston is, I think, 30 minutes away from Lexington and Concord. So we're talking in very close proximity. This is following the Boston Massacre. This is following the Boston Tea Party. Again, the Bostonians, led by, the Sons of Liberty, led by Samuel Adams and John Hancock and Paul Revere being a member, they have been stirring up some discontent amongst the Bostonians and the surrounding colonists because of the unfair taxation that the Sons of Liberty deemed, due to the taxation that the Sons of Liberty deemed unnecessary and unfair following the French and Indian War. Okay, so we got a little bit of context, So let's go ahead and set the stage. So there's a couple things I need you to know first. First, I need you to know a little bit of vocabulary. So our two, terms or just two things we're looking at. So first is militia. Militia is a military force raised from ordinary citizens in case of emergencies. There was no army back then. There was no American army. Excuse me. I should probably say that. There was a British army. Countries had armies, but again, the United States of America does not exist yet. The American Revolution has not started. This is essentially going to be the beginning of it. So how did they protect themselves if there were an invading force? Well, they had militias. And again, this is a military force raised from ordinary citizens in case of emergency. So pretty much just men in the town that had guns. They would come to the defense of the city or the town. The other term or terms, I don't know why I said it like that. Redcoat, regular, and lobsterback. These are all nicknames for British soldiers given to them by the Patriots. And again, when we say Patriots, we're talking about the Americans. The main reason that I included this is we usually watch a movie in class called April Morning. And so you hear a lot of different, nicknames, or you hear a lot of different things that the British soldiers are called. And also Paul Revere, you've heard of him. You probably say, oh yeah, he's the one that said the British are coming, the British are coming, the British are coming. No, not exactly. He said the regulars are coming, the regulars are coming. That's just another word for a British soldier. Okay, let's continue. There we go. All right, so setting. So April 19th, 1775. This is actually my mom's birthday. Not 1775. Not 1775, but April 19th in Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. Again, this is just 30 minutes or so outside of Boston. This is the morning after the ride of Paul Revere. So you guys know a little bit about Paul Revere, about riding through the countryside and yelling again, warning the colonists of the impending British invasion. The reason he was doing that is because the British were coming to Lexington to arrest and capture and arrest. I guess that's probably the better sequencing, to capture and arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock. Now, you know a little bit about Samuel Adams. We've been talking about him. He is, I guess, the de facto leader of the Sons of Liberty. And he's going to play a large part in the American Revolution. So is John Hancock. John Hancock is the first to sign the Declaration of Independence. Both of these are members of the Sons of Liberty. So the goal of the British is to capture and arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock, and then the British are also wanting to go to Concord to destroy the armory. Armory, this is where weapons are held. Now, why would they want to do that, you ask? Well, the reason they want to take hold and raid and then destroy this armory is to make sure that the Americans do not have the ability to fight back. They do not have the ability to make war. Okay? Now keep that in mind because we're going to come back to that. Oh, well, I went too far. All right, so shots fired at Lexington. So on the morning of April 19th, 700 British soldiers march into Lexington and confront 80 patriots. So again, these are just dudes that have guns. And again, these guns are used for hunting. So they are just standing on the path through Lexington into Concord. They're just standing there. They're holding their ground. The Patriots, the Americans, they did not expect to fight. Oh, man. Come on now. The Patriots did not expect to fight. They thought that if they just stood up to the British, it's almost like a bully. Like when you stand up to a bully backs down. Well, this is not the case. So the British, they march to the 80 Patriots and they tell them to disband. Well, they don't. They just stand there, again, in unity against the British. And there's this like, I'm not even gonna say odd, but it's just like kind of calm before the storm. Everything is quiet, and then a shot rings out. No one exactly knows which side fired first, but the fact remains that a shot was fired, and then both sides began fighting. This single shot is known as the shot heard around the world because it would change the course of human history forever. Forever. In the melee between the British and the Patriots, 49 Patriots are killed, and the rest of them have to flee. They have to flee into the woods to get away from the British soldiers. Again, the British soldiers, there's a lot more of them. Two, they're a lot more highly trained. Three, they have a lot better weaponry. So they don't want to mess with the British, not in any type of like military battle or any sense like that. But this is what happens. So they flee into the woods. Word actually spreads pretty fast. Like people immediately get on horseback and go to some of the other surrounding towns and cities and tell them of what just happened so that they can protect themselves. What this leads is many other like militia groups from, again, just neighboring towns to convene with these Lexington Patriots somewhere outside of Lexington. I don't have the exact location, but just a little outside of Lexington, while the British make their way through Lexington and into Concord. All right. Next, come on. All right, Concord. So these patriots, again, they are armed. And we're talking about the Lexington Patriots, and we're also talking about like other, Americans from surrounding towns that just, again, men that have guns. They come to help the Lexingtonian Patriots in this fight against the British. Now, here's what the Patriots are doing. They set up an attack on what is called the North Bridge. Let's see if we can pull that up real quick. I'm yawning. I always yawn during these. It's not like many of you watching anyway, but let's see. So the North. I already misspelled that. Yep. North Bridge. That's in Australia. I don't want that. That's a city. North Bridge. See, this is where things really get, because North Bridge in Elkin, North Carolina, is where things get really messy. Concord. See if we can find it. So I want to show you kind of what it looks like. Come on now. All right. So the North Bridge. I want to. All right. So the North Bridge, not only is it a bridge like this that goes over water, it also is just kind of like a pathway, just like a general path. A lot of it, here we go. That's what I was looking for right here. Let me move my face. So here's what you got. So not only is there a bridge on the North Bridge, obviously, but it's also like there's like a stone wall, and it comes up to about knee to hip high. And so what the whole plan that the Patriots have is to wait until these British are on this bridge, and then it's like then they're packed in like sardines. They can just like shooting fish in a barrel. They're all packed in, so they have a higher chance of hitting a target, whether it be the target they aimed at, but they have a higher chance of hitting that target. So the Patriots set up an attack at the North Bridge while the British go into Concord with very little resistance and search for weapons. Luckily, the weapons have been hidden since the colonists have been warned of the pending British invasion from Paul Revere. But the British do take anything that they can find. They do take some what weapons they could find, and also like valuable items like jewelry or silverware, anything that they can melt down and that could command some type of value from it. And then after they leave Concord, they begin marching towards Boston, but they are going to have to pass the North Bridge. So these Patriot militiamen, they hide in the woods, awaiting the British to cross the North Bridge. And as the British begin crossing, the Patriots attack. Again, they are packed in. So the likeliness of them striking a British soldier is much higher. This is done intentionally. The Patriots continue to attack from a defensive position as the British continue to march back to Boston. So they're like, here's when we say defensive position, this is what we call guerrilla warfare. So the Patriots are shooting. And again, they're like typically kind of like in like the edge of the tree line, like the woods, and they're shooting and then they're falling back, shooting, falling back, shooting, falling back, shooting, falling back. Now the reason they do this is again because they are neither as they're not trained soldiers. These are just dudes with guns that go hunting. They do not have like great weaponry. Like, do you think everybody that owns a gun like cleans it daily and gets it inspected? No, not at all. I mean, some people do for sure, but again, in the military, this is like part of your everyday job, part of your everyday duty, part of your everyday responsibilities. So they have better weaponry. They're much more trained. There's a lot more British. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, they have to find an advantage, and the advantage is called guerrilla warfare because you have to know the land. And because the colonists, the Patriots, are from there, they can shoot and then fall back to where they can hide because they know the land. Shoot, fall back, hide. And this is what they do as the British make their way to Boston. Eventually, the Americans, I guess, cease their chase. Hold on, we got an announcement. Well, all right. Total losses: British 273, Americans 95.
Good afternoon, UCA teachers. If you have leftover progress reports from students that did not pick them up in fourth period, you can drop those by the front office, and we'll get those in the mail in the next couple of days. Thank you very much.
I forgot to turn mine in. Or actually, I forgot to give them out today. I gave them out the other day. Anyways, so even though the British do make it to Boston, the point had been made that the Americans were not going to give up. Now, here's the thing. The United States Constitution was not written by accident. The amendments, the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, they were all written for a specific purpose. The purpose of these amendments was, let's put it this way. They were influenced by events. The Boston Massacre influenced the Sixth Amendment. The Quartering Act influenced the Third Amendment. The the Sons of Liberty and their ability to speak out against the British government and like write in the press about the British government, that influenced the First Amendment. And we can keep going. But the event that influences the Second Amendment no matter what your interpretation of that is today and your opinion of it, that honestly, that's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the actual original text. Where does that come from? Why does that idea make it into the Constitution? It is because of the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and that is your assignment today. How does the Battle of Lexington and Concord, how does that influence the Second Amendment? All right, I'll see you tomorrow.